The Call of Duty franchise has been a story of ups and downs, with each new installment receiving more and more hate for what many fans consider to be recycled gameplay year after year. Black Ops 2 from Treyarch seeks to silence the haters of the series by offering a deeper, more player-driven campaign, as well as an upgraded, more in-depth multiplayer. So will Black Ops 2 break the mold for COD games, or is it a case of same shit, different year? Let's take a look.
The mortifier means the MPLA is ready for attack. If they want a fight, we give them a fight! Move out!
Mason, you copy?
Go ahead, Hudson!
MPLA forces advancing on your position about 1 click north.
Black Ops 2 is a mixed bag when it comes to the positives and negatives. There's definitely more to talk about on the positive side of things, but we'll cover all the bases. First and foremost, the hot button issue every year, let's talk about the graphics. Everything looks smooth and crisp in 60 frames per second, and there are definitely a few subtle upgrades as far as the visuals, but generally speaking, we're talking about the same graphical quality as the last game. That being said, it does still look good, so you can't hit on it too much for that. The sound design is excellent, from the weapon sounds to the ambient noise, and especially as far as the voice acting is concerned. Each character seems simultaneously larger than life and yet relatable, something that even the biggest Hollywood movies fail to achieve at times. Orally speaking, it really was a pleasure, and the writing, though cheesy at times, was generally pretty good.
What's going under Mason? I'll get him!
Now let's talk about the campaign itself. Black Ops 2's campaign is pretty awesome. You play as several different characters that all have the same goal: take out a terrorist by the name of Raul Menendez. The story gets deeper, and there are certainly twists and turns along the way, but that is the gist. Throughout the campaign are set pieces and blockbuster-style action sequences that really push the envelope in terms of absurdity, and I mean that in the best way possible. I have to say, in other COD games I always felt like, well, now I've seen everything, and apparently I was wrong about that because they keep coming up with new ways to pleasantly surprise me. On the flip side of that coin, though most of the moments in this game will make you cheer, there are definitely some cringe-worthy moments like this one. Holy shit, is that a giant tank? I know the solution. Let's deliver a cheesy cliche line and then charge it on horseback.
The Russians want to give us one last display of brute force. Let's give them one last display of courage. You with me?
Perfect!
In addition to regular campaign segments, you're also presented with optional Strikeforce missions that have you complete various objectives, from guarding compounds to assassinating high-valued targets. It was supposed to be an interesting mix of strategy by commanding units overhead and regular FPS gameplay. What they became ultimately was a mess of difficult-to-control strategy elements that I ignored and simply shot my way through. I'd like to comment on how these affect the story, but I honestly don't know. On the plus side, the FPS gameplay is still fun, but in the end they just seem pointless and difficult to maneuver. One area that Black Ops 2 definitely expanded in is giving the player more choice in terms of how to pass particular sections. Most of the engagements you'll find yourself in have multiple pathways to take to achieve your objective, and though I did run into a few invisible walls and off-limits areas, there's definitely way more to explore as you progress through the campaign, and you're often rewarded for it by finding stashes of special weapons and equipment. That said, the game is, at times, still very scripted. In this sequence, I'm supposed to snipe a guy. Well, I've decided I don't want to, so I'm going to go ahead and free him and take out his guards. Oh, they're invincible. Okay. Well, how about this guy? Okay, f me then. I guess I'll just shoot him. The biggest thing that Treyarch was touting going into this release was the story in Black Ops 2 being more player-driven, where every choice matters and affects the story. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's partially true. The biggest issue I had with this was that throughout the campaign there didn't seem to be many moments that affected the story as it went along. Some things paid off in the end, but oftentimes the outcomes of missions and various consequences amounted to nothing more than a throwaway line of dialogue in the next mission, and nothing that seemed to affect how you actually progressed too heavily. Like in this section, I may have accidentally burned Harper's face. Clearly that will have some effect on the story, right? Maybe you'll have to sit out a mission, or miss an important shot he would have normally hit.
You know, if this wasn't an op, I believe I'd give myself a little hot chick action here.
You're forgetting Pakistan? Your face don't look too good, Harper.
Oh, it just leads to a joke about him being ugly. Okay then. When it comes down to it, there seemed to only be a handful of decisions that overtly affected the outcome of the story, but these decisions were so impactful and intense that I kind of forgave it for being a bit less than I expected going in, especially when, to my surprise, my decisions actually did affect the ending in a meaningful way. The good thing is that you can replay missions and even rewind your story progression to a particular one if you want to turn back the clock on what you felt were mistakes. Oh, and before I forget to mention, they even found a way to improve the slow motion sequence, proving once again that everything is better with dubstep. Now on to what most people care about, the multiplayer. Black Ops 2's multiplayer is largely unchanged as far as gameplay goes. They've added 2 new modes, Multi-Team, which is a 3v3v3 mode, and Hardpoint, which is sort of similar to Headquarters. There are of course new guns and kill streaks, a lot of which are cool, but the main improvements made in the multiplayer were in small logistical things. By far the best is the point system for building loadouts. While other COD games have you pick primary weapons, secondary weapons, perks, attachments, and so on, Black Ops 2 has you spend points on, well, any of those that you want. You have up to 10 points to spend as you please, which means you could load your guns up on cool attachments into client equipment or perks, or do the opposite and have no guns and extra perks. The customizability of loadouts is pretty extensive and ultimately very cool. One thing that definitely bothered me about the multiplayer is the still broken spawn system. While other games seem to have figured out a solution, the spawns in Black Ops 2 just seem as bad as ever. Now, even though I'm generally on the giving end of grief, I can still appreciate how frustrating it is to pretty much spawn directly into bullets. The other thing that people were most excited about was, of course, the standalone Zombies multiplayer. This is another case where the gameplay remains pretty much the same with new maps. However, this time Zombies adds transit mode, where you can use a bus to travel between the stages, as well as grief mode, a semi-PvP mode in which the goal is for your team to outlast the other. Grief mode was a bit of a letdown for me. While there are a couple things you can do to troll your fellow survivors, like throw meat at them to attract zombies or simply knife them off of ledges, I felt that Treyarch didn't get creative enough with how you could mess with your opponents. Ultimately, it just feels like 8-player zombies where you stab each other and butterflies come out. On that note, if you like butterflies and zombies, then I guess you'll probably like grief mode. How's that for a sales pitch? All that being said, if you enjoyed the last Zombies, then you'll most likely enjoy this iteration, and the same goes for the general multiplayer as well. Overall, Black Ops 2 is an excellent game that expands on the series single player in a lot of great ways. The campaign is engaging and exciting the whole way through, minus the Strikeforce missions, and though it didn't seem to change much throughout and was still a bit scripted, your decisions did pay off in a very meaningful way in the end. The multiplayer remains largely the same with a few minor improvements, and though a lot of people love to hate it, it's still pretty addicting and fun, though they really need to get their shit together with the spawn system thing. I give Call of Duty Black Ops 2 8.5 glowy zombie heads out of 10. For more news, reviews, and video game shenanigans, be sure to keep it locked right here to Smosh Games.